Quinn here, and welcome to my September wrap up. Now, it is October 17th. I started a new volunteer job, and it has taken a lot more out of me than I originally thought. So, this is way later than I wanted to film and post. But I need that consistency. I need one video for every month. So, here it is. Before we get started, I'd like to give a star rating system disclaimer. I tend to be a little harsher with my ratings, so I want to give some context on what my ratings mean. 1 star means I didn't like it, 2 stars means it was okay, 3 stars means I liked it, 4 stars means I really liked it, and 5 stars means it was amazing. Before we dive into the books, let's look at some statistics. I read 8 books in DNF 2, with a total of 2,152 pages read. My average rating was 2.75 stars. My most read genre was fantasy, and I read the most via audiobook. Let's move on to the books. Okay, you're gonna hear my cats playing in the background. I'm not gonna stop them from playing. So that's what you're hearing in the background. The first book is Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. Her name is Binti, and she is the first of the Himba people ever to be offered a place at Uzma University, the finest institution of higher learning in the galaxy. But to accept the offer will mean giving up her place and her family to travel between the stars among strangers who do not share her ways or respect her customs. Knowledge comes at a cost, one that Binti is willing to pay, but her journey will not be easy. The world she seeks to enter has long warred with the Medusae, an alien race that has become the stuff of nightmares. Uzma University has wronged the Medusae, and Binti's stellar travel will bring her within their deadly reach. Binti hopes to survive the legacy of a war not of her making. She will need both the gifts of her people and the wisdom enshrined within the university itself, but first she has to make it there alive. I think this would have really won me over if it was a longer page count. All the ingredients were there: interesting Afrofuturism, math and science powers, aliens, a mystery object, a great goal for Binti, the main character, but we only hit the surface level of all these things. I gave this a 2 star. The House Witch 1 by Dellen Hatch. When Finlay Ashwin joins the staff of the King and Queen of Dexaria, he's an enigma. No one knows where he comes from or how he came to be where he is, which suits Finn just fine. He's satisfied simply serving as the royal cook, keeping nosy passerbys out of his kitchen, and concocting some truly uncanny meals. But Finn's secret identity doesn't stay hidden for long. After all, it's not every day a house witch and his kitten familiar Kraken take to meddling in imperial affairs. As his powers are gradually discovered by the court, Finn finds himself involved in a slew of intrigues, going head-to-head with knights with less than chivalrous intentions, helping to protect the pregnant queen, fending off the ire of the royal mage, and uncovering a spy in the castle. And that's only the beginning, because Finn's past is catching up with him just as his love life is getting complicated. This was so cozy. There were some heavier topics in this, but I still consider it a great heartwarming read. I listened to the audiobook and really enjoyed it, though there is one section with a certain feline that I despised in the audiobook. I enjoyed following the main character Finley, and the exploration of his power throughout the book was interesting. All the side characters felt fleshed out enough and were important to the growth of the story. The main problems I had were: 1, I believe this was published chapter by chapter online, and you can definitely tell that each chapter was more of a mini plot. It was like a show where each episode has a separate story, but the underlying plot is still mentioned and worked on. And 2, that the romance was so slow, and there was hardly a payoff. Also, this was mainly my bad, but I thought this was a queer story. I had to do a double take when Finlay ended up being straight. Not a bad thing, but when this is what I was expecting, it threw me off just a little bit. But I'm so excited to continue in the series. I gave this 4 stars. The Deep by Rivers Solomon. Yetu holds the memories for her people. Her people, the Wajinru, descendants of pregnant African slave women thrown overboard by slave owners, live idyllic lives in the deep. Their past, too painful to be remembered regularly, is forgotten by everyone save one. The memories, harrowing and wonderful, traumatic and terrible, are destroying Yetu. And so she flees to the surface, escaping her expectations and responsibilities, and discovers a world the Wajinru left behind long ago. This book, only 166 pages, has such depth, such great explorations of real-life themes like self-discovery in relation to what responsibilities others place on you, and dealing with generational trauma packaged in a mermaid fantasy. Yetu's story was just, I can't even put into words. I felt for her and was never upset with her decisions. I loved seeing how she grew and explored who she was, especially with it being the first time she was being able to do so. And the romance was such a pleasant part as well. I gave this a 4-star. System Collapse by Martha Wells. Following the events in Network Effect, the Barish Estranza Corporation has sent rescue ships to a newly colonized planet in peril, as well as additional SEC units. But if there's an ethical corporation out there, Murderbot has yet to find it. And if Barish Estranza can't have the planet, they're sure as hell not leaving without something. If that something just happens to be an entire colony of humans, well, a free workforce is a decent runner-up prize. But there's something wrong with Murderbot. It isn't running with normal operational parameters. Art's crew and the humans from Preservation are doing everything they can to protect the colonists, but with Barish Estranza's SEC unit heavy persuasion teams, they're going to have to hope Murderbot figures out what's wrong with itself and fast. As always, Martha Wells hits with Murderbot, but it always leaves me wanting more. What can I say without spoilers? This was a great addition to the series. I loved exploring Murderbot more and more, exploring how concerned all the humans was for it and how it should feel about that. I also enjoyed Art coming back again. Seeing their dynamic again was so fun. This series almost feels like a slow burn, right? Each story with the novellas and the novel lengths just show little pieces, and I just really want just a full-length novel where it really explores everything and gives us much more detail than these little books are giving. Like, I really just want to dive in more and more than I feel like I'm able to with these shorter stories. But I still gave it a 4 stars. I still love this series, and it, I think, is so unique. Dream On, Ramona Riley by Ashley Herring Blake. Once upon a time, Ramona Riley was a student at a prestigious art school with dreams of landing in Hollywood as a costume designer to the stars. But after her father's car accident, she had to quit and return to her small New Hampshire town, Clover Lake, to help take care of her young sister. 12 years later, Ramona is still working at the town's cafe, all but given up on her dream. But when a big-budget romantic comedy comes to Clover Lake to film, she wonders if this could be her chance. There's only one problem: Dylan Monroe, her first kiss and Hollywood's favorite wild child, is the star. Dylan Monroe has always lived an unconventional life, having famous rock icons for parents. But she wants to prove that she's not some chaotic, talentless Nepo baby, that she has actual skills, that she's just a normal person. To do that, Dylan takes on a project at a charming lake town. She even works at the town's cafe, very quaint, shadowing a local waitress there, very cute, and asks her to take Dylan around to do normal people things. But Dylan soon realizes it's not just some small town waitress she's getting to know. Ramona Riley is someone she's met before, someone who remembers her even more vividly. Before long, however, reality hits them, and both women must decide if the spark between them can fan the flames of their individual dreams or if it will extinguish their light. I listened to this via audiobook with my wife, and I didn't like it at all. The characters themselves, and maybe the bad narration was a factor, but they were so cringy and annoying. The spicy scenes were so weird and felt like they didn't match the characters' personalities at all. Didn't care about the plot either. The repeated, "oh, this will be a problem later" mentions from the start were not enjoyable, especially because the rest of the book they were decent at communicating. Just for the main issue to be surprised what they mentioned from the start. I gave this a 1 star. Thrum by Meg Smitherman. Ami awakes from years in stasis to find she's at the edges of deep space and the only surviving member of her crew. Utterly alone and unable to contact Earth, she sends out a distress beacon, not expecting a response. When she gets one from a being who calls himself Dorian, she's welcomed onto his ship as he offers his assistance in any way he can. But nothing on Dorian's ship is as it seems. And as Ami tries to navigate the maze of hallways in first contact with this alien being, a deep hum begins to resonate, haunting her, as if the ship itself is whispering to her. Damn. Science fiction, horror, and romance. Sign me up. I ate this up. I can't say more about this without spoilers, so if you have any inclination towards reading this, do it. It was so surprising and worth it. I'm reading whatever Meg Smitherman comes out with. I gave this a 5 star. Captive Prince by C.S. Picot. Daemon is a warrior hero to his people and the truthful heir to the throne of Achelos. But when his half-brother seizes power, Daemon is captured, stripped of his identity, and sent to serve the prince of an enemy nation as a pleasure slave. Beautiful, manipulative, and deadly, his new master, Prince Laurent, epitomizes the worst of the court. But in the lethal political web of Varetian court, nothing is as it seems, and when Daemon finds himself caught up in a play for the throne, he must work together with Laurent to survive and save his country. For Daemon, there is just one. Never ever reveal his true identity, because the one man Daemon needs is the one man who has more reason to hate him than anyone else. What even. I don't get the hype for this, now I totally see why this is so divisive. I thought maybe it was just some people not used to darker themes within romance, but there was literally nothing good about this, and I can't believe there are 3 books. Will not continue with the series. Wish I could erase this from my memory. I gave this a 1 star. And the last book, Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. When Jeannie's aunt gifts her the beloved Pumpkin Spice Cafe in the small town of Dream Harbor, Jeannie jumps at the chance for a fresh start away from her very dull desk job. Logan is a local farmer who avoids Dream Harbor's gossip at all costs. But Jeannie's arrival disrupts Logan's routine, and he wants nothing to do with the irritatingly upbeat new girl, except that he finds himself inexplicably drawn to her. Will Jeannie's happy-go-lucky attitude win over the grumpy but gorgeous Logan? Or has this city girl found the one person in town who won't fall for her charm or her pumpkin spice lattes? I didn't like the dynamic of the 2 main characters. They spent so much time together, yet there was a main plot point of we barely know each other. And how many times can they get cock-blocked by random interruptions? How can you call this a spicy book with one scene at 70%? Especially with what happened directly after that scene? I didn't want them to end up together at all in the end. Plot was okay enough, a woman who needs a drastic change in her life, but I couldn't take her seriously after not contacting the authorities after a possible break-in. I also didn't feel like the side characters were fleshed out enough, mainly there to just say, oh, there's a big town, here's the gist of all of them. I gave this a 1 star. In addition to those 8, I DNF'd 2, Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead, and Welcome to the Hyunamdong Bookshop. And that wraps up my September reading. This was the Magical Readathon Autumn Equinox month, and my character passed. I did have to use some scrolls to swap some prompts and some books around, but I ended up finishing it and even reading an extra book. Let me know how your September reading went and what your favorite book was. I really think Thrum was my favorite. And always, this is Quinn, signing off.